Hello again everyone, welcome back. On today's video, we're going to be talking about my most recent build in Path of Exile. This has been one of my favorite builds of all time. It's an Ascendant specifically made to support a Mercenary. In this case, the build that you're going to see is going to be specifically made for a Vaal Ice shot many shot, but I'm considering also tinkering with the kineticists because they also clear very well. They just don't have as much single target. And I think a Vaal Ice shot is a much easier setup to get started that requires a lot less. The footage that you're going to be seeing is all done with very basic-ish gear. I'll leave that in the description of a POE for that character and for my own character. If you have any recommendations or any ideas to change a character or any other mercs that you'd like to see me try to make work, do let me know in the comments. But I don't want to waste too much time. We have a lot to talk about in this video, so without any further ado, let's get into it. Alright, so let's talk a little bit about the character. We are currently a level 69 Ascendant. We have 2k life, but that doesn't matter. Life is irrelevant, we're reserving all of it. We have a lot of maximum energy shield and a lot of reservation. So this is a very weird character, so let's start by looking at the passive tree. Okay, so the passive tree is this. It's an Aurabot. If you've seen an Aurabot, this is how it looks 90% of the times. You need to go and get all the reservation all over the tree. So you pad here for this reservation, you pad here for this, you pad here for this reservation, and then you pad down here for this one, and we opted to anoint champions of the cause. On the way, you take very few nodes, but some things are important. You take a few clusters, or a few jewel sockets, I should say. And as you can see, this is not really easy to level with. It's not doable, you can't level like this really. You have to level with something else, or in this league specifically, if you have a mercenary that you can use at low level, you can start leveling with an Aurabot from the moment you have a good mercenary to support. I started leveling with this from Act 3 was when I found my first many shot that was pretty good. Until then I was leveling with Smite, I think. Just hit Smite. I had items like uniques to help me level, so it was a little bit easier. But still, you can level from the moment you have a good mercenary. For this tree specifically, we used a lot of sockets, a lot of things to make this work, so let's talk a little bit about it. Down here we have a natural instinct. This is about 1 divine. It's very accessible. You put it here specifically because it gives you everything else that's in this radius, and as you can see, it gives us a bit of resistance, a bit of life, a bit of block, a bit of everything really. But what we really care about is the devotion that we're getting. The devotion is something that's going to play into our militant fate. Our militant fate doesn't really matter what the big node is, we're not using it, so it's irrelevant. But you really want either mana cost of skills reduced or mana regen, one of the two. I would recommend mana cost of skills reduced and effect of non-cursorers. That's pretty obvious, that's not optional. You absolutely need effect of non-cursorers. And I opted to go with Thoughts and Prayers here to get a little bit more maximum ES. But it's not super mandatory. You can get one of the exposures, for example, but it's a little bit more ES. It's good. And you really want to make sure it doesn't mess up with leadership, and it doesn't mess up with foresight, and it doesn't mess up with reflexes, because these are giving you a lot of stats that are very valuable. You can have one here. It wasn't intentional, but this node is not particularly good, and you can still get the mastery from here, even if this is something else, so this works fine. After that, here we have an intuitive leap. It's very cheap, it's about 25 chaos. It's saving us 3 points. If you don't want to buy one, or you don't have one right now, it's not a problem. You don't really need to, you just spend the extra 3 points and you drop something like these 3 points here, for example. Right? You'll be fine, but I would recommend grabbing these. We also grab a little bit of Flask charges, and we grab these Flask charges up here, and we do that so with our Pathfinder node here, which I'll talk a little bit about in a second, but we're getting that from somewhere else. This allows us to keep our flasks up very often. In fact, this one, I can turn it on, and unless we get very unlucky, it will not turn off. And it is very easy to sustain, especially in maps where you're killing things. From there, you pat down here and get aura and reservation. Here we have a forbidden flame, and we're gonna have a forbidden flesh here. Just need to put it into sockets, doesn't really matter where. But this is giving us our Pathfinder node. These are not too expensive, I don't think. I think the total of them was 5 divines, 6 divines. So, you know, they're expensive, but not the most expensive ones. And it seems like they're about 4 divine for the pair at this point, so go ahead and grab those. It's very, very nice. Another one that you could use, let's talk about Ascendancies then. The first one that I took was Guardian. This gives you a lot of reservation, it gives you regen, and is going to give you a little bit of block. I then took Champion. It's not super good, but it does give you effect of non-Corsaurus. And that's kind of why we're here. The taunt is not reliable, you don't do any damage. Sorry, the Fortify is not reliable, I meant. The taunt is nice, because it allows you to taunt enemies and they take 10% increased damage and do less damage to your merc. So that's nice. Another one that you could have, rather than Pathfinder, if you don't care about the flasks, or you want to drop one of these for some reason, is Necromancer. Necro is not crazy useful, but it does give you 30% increased area of effect, because you've always consumed a corpse recently while mapping. We'll talk about that. And it gives a lot of attack and cast speed to you and your allies, which is going to be nice for your merc. Anything else that we have here? Here we just have a little bit extra reservation with ES. Here we have an energy from within, which is also not very expensive. It's nothing actually, I should probably upgrade this to a 6. Which is converting all of this life to ES, which is very nice. And I think that's all the jewels I have. Other than that, you are grabbing a bit of ES here. You want a few ES masteries, you want the light radius for convenience, because otherwise you're playing the game on dark mode and it's kind of annoying. The regen is good, and then the 100% increased energy shield from equipped helmet is very, very good. My helmet on its own is giving me 2k ES. So, very nice. I also grabbed this. This is a link cluster, which gives us +2 level of all link skill gems. And then just grab ES. I grab a little bit of life, and that's about it, really. Very basic tree. Oh, this side, more ES, more life, suppress, and this allows us to get suppress is lucky, which we don't cap our suppress, but this allows us to fit in a lot more comfortably. We're currently at 51, and yeah, this is just gonna give us a little bit more suppress. You don't have to have this, but it is nice. And there's not much more on the tree that you would want. You could pad for more energy shield, but there's no more aura, no more reservation, so it's not really very helpful to use these points anywhere else, unless you want to obviously do a cluster setup with something. You could consider that. And from there, you take Ghost Dance, and you go here, and you get a little bit of evasion and ES as well. And yeah, that's pretty much the passive tree. Now, for our gear. This setup has changed a little bit. I started using End of Perithia, or Perithia, I'm not entirely sure. to give us a lot of effect of non-cursorus, which is really good, really good, but then opted to swap that for a Vaal Caress. This is giving us level on all of these, which is quite nice. And I haven't tested since I leveled all these to max, so I still need to test that actually. But this is a very good both of them are very good pairs of gloves. Test them out, see which one you prefer, but they're both very nice and would be my 2 recommended options. Other than that, Sign of the Sin Eater. This gives you Smite for free. Smite, you're gonna be your only casted skill really outside of your link. This makes so you don't have to spend an extra socket, which is nice because you kind of starve for those unless you want to use an unset ring. And we have Generosity here to make so the aura that you get from smiting goes entirely to your merc. Accuracy, so you don't have to worry about capping your accuracy. And we have Sniper's Mark, is the curse we're opting to give our merc. Then we have a basic helmet with just as much ES as I could get at the time. This could be a little bit better, but not much. I think I've seen one go up to 500. In fact, I think I have one of 500 on my Elementalist, but this is pretty good. And then I got reduced mana cost of attacks, and enemies you hit have reduced life regeneration, because Maven can be kind of annoying sometimes. On the amulet, Jinx Juju, a very good amulet. It gives increased effect of non-cursorus, gives us chaos resist. Overall, pretty good amulet. Anyway, anointed with Champions of the Cause. On our shield, you're going to be running a Prism Guardian. This is going to allow you to reserve a lot of gems on your life rather than your mana. It also gives them a big boost in reservation efficiency. Gives you resistance, you don't care about those, but it is just a very good. And it gives those auras some level, so quite nice. In here, we are opting to run Determination, Wrath, and Haste. If you're using something else, like, let's say, a Kineticist, which already gives you Haste, you simply swap this for Grace. I forgot to mention, on the helmet, we are running Rejuvenation Totem. This is going to give a lot of regen. We are running Flame Link, which is our link of choice. This gives our link target a lot of added flat damage, and also a little bit extra based on our health. We don't stack a lot of health, but we get a little bit on the tree, so it's an extra bonus. And finally, we have a Molten Shell with an automation setup. On our rings, you have 2 different rings. Both of them should be Chaos, and just get any stats that you're missing, which is probably going to be Strength, and as much ES as you can. Chaos, ES, and probably Strength. Open prefix, preferably so you can craft non-channel skills of reduced mana cost. At this point, my smite cost is absolutely nothing, so this helps a lot with that. And anything else that you can get which is valuable, rarity is a nice find. I started the build running not that, but instead running Ventor's Gambles. So yeah, you can do that as well if you need a little bit more reservation because you haven't gotten everything that's on the tree yet. We have our chess piece. Our chess is a Victaria's Influence. This is surprisingly very cheap, even with a double corruption on a max effect of non-cursorus. If we check this out, in fact, so you can see that I'm not lying, the +1 is not even doing anything for me. You don't care about this. So really, you just care about the +2 aura and the 15. And you can grab it for 20, 50 C, maybe at most 100. It's a very easy chest to get. And you don't even need to link it. We have a 2-link setup, which is Precision with Arrogance. And we have Arctic Armor, we have Hatred, we have Anger, and our movement skill. Flame Dash, Frostblink, whichever. That's it. Very easy chess piece. Gloves I mentioned already. This makes so you need all 4 gems here to be Vaal to get the +5. So we have Vaal Purities and Discipline. All 3 Purities and Discipline. And that's it. Finally, our boots. Our boots are going to be a bubonic trail, preferably, well, the final build setup is going to have 2 Abyss Jewels. You're going to socket in a unique for increased preservation efficiency of skills, and a magic one for movement. Really like this setup. Your unique one doesn't matter, none of them are any good for us. If you can get this one, which I think you should be able to get easily, it's not very expensive, yeah, this will give you a little bit of strength. So, good one to get. And here we have an arrogance with our last aura, which is flesh and stone. And our belt. Our belt, much like the rest of our rares, is just going to be ES, Chaos, and Strength, where you can get it. Here, actually, almost forgot, you do really like flash charges gained, because this helps you sustain your flasks better. But, as you can see, this flask has been on the whole time, and still isn't run out. So, this does help quite a lot, and this one specifically is tier 2. For your flasks, you are running specifically a unique flask, Coruscating Elixir. This is going to feel very scary, but it's going to be alright. You're going to bring your health all the way down to 1, but all chaos damage taken does not bypass energy shield during flask effect. So if you can make the flask last forever, you're basically CI, is what's happening here. It also has the added bonus of whatever health is removed is regened as energy shield over 2 seconds. Other than that, I run a topaz, a granite, a jade, and a movement one. You can easily drop the granite for, I would recommend most likely a sapphire would probably be the best, I would say. Or you could run something like a Rumi's Concoction for a block or something along those lines. Now for the actual meat and potatoes of the build, the Mercenary. The Mercenary we have here. Now I know there's a headhunter here. All the footage that you have seen is not with a headhunter, this is a recent purchase. Before that I was using a prism weave. In fact, I'm still using a prism weave because headhunter gives you nothing for bosses. So whenever I go to face a boss, I'm using prism weave instead. That said, let's have a look at this. Uniques. Heat Shiver, this is going to give you a lot of extra cold as fire. Chest piece, Iris Ire, very good chest. 2 tamings on the rings. I have the Pandemonias, which is not very expensive, I don't think. It's 1 divine, yeah, pretty manageable. With Forces of Nature, Anointed. This is kind of expensive because it has a golden oil. My recommendation if you don't want to spend that much, Divine Judgment as a black, a teal, a sepia, and that will suffice.
Well, what?
Other than that, we have rares, so the gloves is the only piece that are really crafted. The added fire, a lot of added against burning enemies, which is very, very good. Attack speed is good, and then as much flat as you can get. Don't worry about her resistances, you are going to be capping her resistances. She's through the moon throughout mapping. She never died. Not once has she died during maps. Every time that I died was because of my bad positioning, or my fault, or I got hit by something. She never once died. From here, you have your quiver, a bunch of flat, crit damage, attack speed, whichever you can get. This is not a particularly fantastic quiver. This is probably the next piece I should look at crafting, because the flat could be a lot better, and the flat has a lot of impact on the quiver itself. In fact, it has an open suffix. I should probably exalt this. And then the bow. Here the bow, I bought the base, which was the tier 1 fractured ticket bow with tier 1 fractured cold. This costed me 2 divines, and then I crafted with tier 1 fire essences until I got something usable. The suffixes are really bad, but it's still able to clear everything in the game up to tier 17s, so very, very good. I think that's everything with the build. I hope I didn't forget anything. Yeah, I don't think I have. If anything else you have questions with, these are all my auras. Hold on, some stuff is turned off. There we go. I think that's everything, yes. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments. If you have any recommendations, let me know in the comments. It's the first time I'm playing an Aura character, or an Aura support style character, so I'm sure I'm making a ton of mistakes. So if you have any recommendations, let me know in the comments. If you'd like to see me test out any other mercs or any other setups, do let me know. I'm having a ton of fun with this character. I'm gonna keep playing it. I also have ideas for other characters, but I'm still really enjoying this character, so I'm gonna be playing for a little bit longer. And maybe try to make the kineticists work. With that said, that'll be everything. Thank you so much. I'll catch you all later. Bye-bye.